Rinpoche has in this way offered you a brief explanation on the Mahamudra prayer of aspirations by the great realized being, the third Karmapa, Rangjung Dorje. And even though Rinpoche has offered a brief explanation, how much of it you understood and how much of it sort of has penetrated your mind, Rinpoche doesn't actually quite know. And it is not a very easy, obviously, thing to digest or to penetrate one's mind. Since this particular teaching is set as one of the programs, so Rinpoche, wanted to share it with you as best as the circumstance allowed. But at the same time, of course, there are various different limitations. Firstly, we have very little time together, and this is a kind of subject that needs more time to delve into. A little short time is not enough. And it is generally true that when we are studying anything, that there is need for some more time to sort of penetrate, and for something like this particularly. So because one thing that is necessary is, for particularly something like this, there is the need for combination of teaching and then reflecting, contemplating, meditating on it, and then for some further teaching, contemplating, meditating, and getting into some dialogue, and in this way that it needs to be. So since there is not much opportunity that way, of course it's limiting. And another is if one doesn't have a previous experience of good background in the teachings of the Dharma, and a good background of having been taught from texts of the teachings, and simply bits and pieces of lectures and talks and here and there that one has heard, only that as a background is not a very sufficient background. So if one is new to the essential concept of Buddha Dharma, of views of the Buddha Dharma, and then one is hearing this kind of subject matter somewhat for the first time, obviously that is another limitation that removes one from understanding it more. And for listening to this kind of subject, having an intellectual background in the Dharma, in terms of views and concepts and philosophy, is also not enough actually. There must be an experiential background that one has to whatever degree work with one's mind. So one has some sense of sort of the know-hows of one's mind, its potentialities, sort of tricks, its habits, and so forth. And so when we are talking in mind language, so to speak, then there's some sense of common understanding has to be there. So when there is no common understanding and one is just simply speculating, because there is more like that it got there. Here there are elements that it must hit you, not just a second thing to think about. So whether it sort of penetrates or it stays here for one to speculate. It depends on if there is some experiential background. So in that way, also, it's, limiting. And so in that way, maybe things have, because of these limitations, that it maybe has been very difficult for you to understand a lot of it. And but that's quite normal actually, because when one is initially beginning a practice and initially learning whatever aspect of the Dharma, of course one can't understand and remember everything in that instant and know how to do everything. But Rinpoche feels, nevertheless, it is very good, because you have come along with a very sincere intention and spending the time, and Rinpoche also has shared with you, and without any reservation, and having confidence in your potential nature, and therefore have no reservation in sharing sort of the heart and the essence of the teachings of the lineage, imparting to you. And Rinpoche would like to have the confidence that a certain impression got to have been made, that will bear some fruit in the times and years to come, and in furthering your understanding of the Dharma, in furthering your experience or inspiration, whatever. So of course it is not totally a waste. There has been benefit. But if you haven't understood it all very clearly, then Rinpoche just wanted to let you know there are certain limitations. We can't expect to have everything, crystal clear. So we will take a break here now, and Rinpoche is saying that Rinpoche will stay for the afternoon session of meditation, and if you have some question, then he will attend to it. But probably it's better for us to do the inner questioning, and through the practice, anyway, whatever you prefer, we can do that. Meditation or discussion between 5 and 6.
jambu the single and the jambu single person there didn't turn out to Katana the Shevan Magi Moms. Lama. The connection is it. Then the dilution.
In the practice of meditation, for the meditation practice to become more focused and more effective, one must always remember to either doing the actual words of prayers, but at least mentally remembering to take refuge and generate the mind of awakening, bodhicitta, that one is doing this for the benefit of sentient beings, and also bring the presence of the visualization of one's kind root lama, or whoever one is most devoted to, in the form of Vajrayana, as explained, and that was the embodiment of all the objects of the refuge, And so you will, and then receiving the inspirations and the blessings from that, and then that as sort of a lead to the practice of the meditation, and then getting into the actual meditation. So you will start with that attitude. Beyond that, of course, Rinpoche feels it's not maybe necessary for us to go into the details in terms of the postures and the breath, and then after the breath, resting in the nature of the mind. This, as we will do them sequentially. At least for about an hour, wasn't it quite a good break for our mind? It is most precious, actually, to provide ourselves the opportunity, or in other words, to treat ourselves to the opportunity to practice meditation, because there are so many ways that it is helpful in our life, in attending to our everyday activities with some more clarity and precision and skill, and of course, needless to say, towards the experience of liberation of mind. And also, not only there is a general benefit in doing the practice of meditation, there is the particular benefit also of doing it together, especially at the beginning stages. There is what might be perceived as sort of the collective benefit, that we have the ability to support and inspire each other, and so in that way there is a collective benefit, or at least Rinpoche sees it that way.
Tinibana soba singing when it on it is Shirag in Nuba Chamboris, for Karina Ranchi and Soba Sibid and Nuba Shiris. Tinibana Nazo Bana Zidana Majabayina Mitzi Tinitilo Nalado Sigosona Majar Tine Koran Rongi Korang Stamla Temisi Bixia Boban Rabote, your marriage. Tene pajo din ros sa pajo ma jasa ti thona chi community re san shibe khajang kelpe halya bu chawa ti mari ta me mangbo chi ma chen nyam den ro na tene rongen su chawa la chi mangbo chi yo san ti chang gi chu gi ni ban da bu chi pe lo pe ni ba shu cha ji da thoye ma ja yong sa khon san na pe ni si mangbo chi yong de ta pe me gi chi Nasa Shangpa Cheyong to Sambikiya, Delson Chavachak, we are saying this in the Sopa City, Ranchi was that lake, that is Chabak, when Karina Yota.
There is definitely the collective power, and there is a collective power in a negative sense as well as in a negative way or in a positive way. For instance, even like when it comes to going to war, or like waging a war, if one individual, no matter sort of how gallant, if one individual goes through and carrying a knife or whatever gun in his hand and going through whatever street in town saying that he's going to wage war, there is more fear in his mind, that the fact he's alone, and also as far as other people is concerned, that is not particularly that scary or that overwhelming for the others. Whereas when like an army of soldiers and together then go waging war, if you would, then that there's some sense of each one is being supported by the other. There is a collective courage. There is a collective sense of bravery, aside from out of the individual sense that one has. And for those who are sort of facing that collective energy, that a collective force is also more intimidating, more overwhelming. And so in a negative context, there is that power, that sense of courage that comes from the collective.
In the Tene Marans, two Yamzilenga Lion, Tene Le Tambo Banamla, Tene Sopate, when they get some in Salis. And they are going to Panama to print of Sina, Tene Tambo, Tene Gombata, the Pemisi, the Tawasi, Ponra Mambata, Tawa Jardo Mambanyam, Sopa Fonchi, Salena Gioris. Family and I are Tambo, then get the Tambo, but family then go to Tene, Miss John and you to take it in a group of us in some day. Then Tenzu Goba take on Sanata, Tende Goba is let humble. Then a Suzuki Stamlet in Uganda was a nation of Yaho's top son, then a Suzuki
same is true in the practice of the Dharma, particularly when one is more at the beginning stages of the practice of the Dharma, then the collective study of the Dharma, the collective practice of the Dharma is more inspiring, that you have also others to that who like at the best inspire you, or at least drag you into it. And so in this way it's very good. Like traditionally also, then in terms of the truth of it, the monasteries, not just individuals all over scattered, but monasteries where hundreds, thousands, that matter, of monks studying, practicing together. And also when they take intensive retreat practice, it's minimum of 15, 20 of them doing the retreat together. So this is because there is a collective benefit, collective support, and one's own understanding of Dharma and the practice of the Dharma is very strongly established, and then one has the confidence and is able to sort of go on one's own without support, without further instruction, without further encouragement, that the experience of the wisdom of the Dharma in itself is the continuous support and continuous inspiration. Then, of course, one can go on one's own and practice, which is also done. Many of you have been involved in the Dharma practice and study of the Dharma for some time, and has with genuineness pursued the practice and the study of the Dharma. And then maybe some of you are beginning. However, at this time we have been together for a few days, and with our collective good intentions, pure intentions, to want to learn the Dharma, to want to practice the Dharma, to benefit ourselves and others through our understanding and the practice of the Dharma, which is very good, and which is also very happy for all of you with your the appreciation of the wisdom of the Dharma and the aspirations in connection with wanting to practice. And obviously, it's a major task, important work sort of in one's life. It's not something that one should do on sort of spare time, during spare time. And the practice of the Dharma must be carried out in one's life, which also which I would like to sort of encourage you to do, because that is the only way then the benefit of the Dharma becomes a self-explanatory reality. And in approaching the study and the practice of the Dharma, you of course always have to bear in mind that you're not going to understand everything right away. And you have to be patient. You're also not going to experience everything right away. Become free of conflicting emotions, emotional tendencies instantaneously, and realizing liberation also instantaneously. Obviously, that is not going to happen. So we have to have some patience, have some sense of endurance. This is an important task. We can't afford to sort of leave it aside because it didn't have any instantaneous effect. Because of our familiarity, once again, so many ways we are subjects of the victims of the machineries that we have created in the world. And so again, that our reality is so much maneuvered by these machineries that we have. And so computers, machines, what have you, and you're saying, well, when we push the button, it goes. The whole thing appears. Everything. Why doesn't it happen for the practice? Obviously, we are not machines. We are human beings, and our habitual patterns are very strongly ingrained also. So, from that point of view, we can't look at the Dharma from the sort of push-button point of view. And if it even happens that way, we will not appreciate it. And anyway, it does not happen that way. So there must be patience and endurance.
Tell the Majana, Tenitana, Manazutana, Chanazum, Talanazum, Motanda, Garinda, Motati, Tenichala, Mamuki, or Yena, Korang, Chase, Chetil, that is Chetel Faluna, Tinta, Dioma, Chel Garsona, Chetuioma, follow the tension. Then I young answer, then it should. Lobjong the Yamin the Chego or the Yena Tisha, now the Telegarsona, then answer Tata, the really assembly, don't show to you. And then in the Simaba Yoga Shra Yabo, the Yena Teponanti, Suzu, Kalea, Kalea, Sidu, the Pemikia, over.
And another also important point is, while it's very good to be sincere, to have sincerity in connection with the practice and study of the Dharma, but we shouldn't approach the practice and study of the Dharma from an impractical point of view, that you want to know everything right away, and so trying to sort of delve into every aspect of the teachings of the Dharma, and also you want to do all the practice right away, everything, and so try to sort of bog down oneself with every practice that sort of one can think of, and one gets sort of totally overwhelmed by it, and nothing practical is accomplished. So we must have a pragmatic, practical approach to the practice of the Dharma. And no matter how good something is, that it must be approached from the point of view of wisdom and skillfulness. Even if it's something so good, it just doesn't help if we overwhelm ourselves with it, and to the point that we have to backtrack. And it's just like, cars and trucks and all of these things are very good for carrying passengers and goods, whatever you. But also there is a certain weight limit. And so when you overload them, the tire is not supposed to carry all of the weight, and the other parts of the also car and truck, begin to complain. And so, because you're not, it's good. Yes, they are there to carry passengers and load and everything, but not to carry the overload.
overload level
and also we don't, on the other hand, we shouldn't be too worried about overloading also, and so get too worried about overloading that we underload it. That would be laziness. There is this example in terms of this overloading and also not being pragmatic in connection with it. There is a story that certain individual was, in Tibet, certain individual was going to Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, on horseback, and as he was heading towards Lhasa, he met another person returning from Lhasa, and they met, and so this person who is going to Lhasa, who doesn't know how far it is, asked him how far Lhasa is or how long it might take him. And so the one who's returning from Lhasa and looking at the person and knowing the distance and looking at the horse, and the horse was quite weak, and so told the passenger going to Lhasa, well, if you go slowly and you will reach Lhasa today, but if you go fast you won't reach today. And of course, the other guy thought, that doesn't make sense, I mean, if you go slow, you reach. If you go fast, you will reach even faster. So he whipped his horse and he went fast. And after quite a while, the horse collapsed. So that day he had to stay there and didn't reach Lhasa. So we have this. So that kind of situation. Yes, we have to take into account sort of the practical realities of our situation. So Rinpoche, there's a reason that he's saying this is yes, you have your mundane responsibilities and duties as well as all our other mundane habits, and to sort of cast them all aside and get totally and fully involved in the Dharma, well, that's not so easy. And if you try to do that, probably it won't be that realistic. On the other hand, it would be also equally unrealistic and certainly unwise to say, what I have to do and to accomplish and achieve, attend to in the world is so important, because that never ends. There's never an end to the priorities and importances. And so I must attend to all of this and sacrifice the practice of the Dharma altogether. That would not be helpful. So while attending to one's everyday life activity, worldly activities, try to set aside some time for the practice of the Dharma, or in the midst of that, put in some practice of the Dharma. That would be very meaningful. And so there are various, of course, aspects of perseverance or diligence, but one of the most important is the perseverance of consistency. And so that is the most important kind of perseverance. And one has to think about one's body, one has to think of one's time and work and everything, and it's just no point in trying to overwhelm oneself with something. But at the same time, what needs to be attended to must be attended to. So, for instance, if one can do at least a minimum of half an hour of practice every day, be it just a basic meditation practice of the Shine, or a particular deity practice in terms of visualization and recitation, a minimum of half an hour. Now, half an hour is a very little time. But on the other hand, compared to nothing at all, it's a lot. Because, in 2 days you have done an hour's practice. And then in the weeks and months to come, you will have done a lot of practice. And that's really very good. As far as a cumulative point of view and consistency point of view, it will in time to come sort of speak for itself in terms of the benefit is concerned.
담대 망보 집에 뒤에 있는 가든 냐면 그 망보 제고 제 두점에 양 든들을 배 센터에 되는 게 든들 사실이요. 근데 딜레양 좀 말이야. 다때 가르치는 뒤에 되는 바나 다 소수게 상하를 빠지 되는 소수게 담을 수수근 담나래 남에게 나와 있는 날에 가리 있는 돈은 빠지라 되는 냐면 야고지 있잖아. 되는 화이제 탐지 되는 야와 탐지 희롱도 제송어래. 다 희행 탐지 뒤게 되는 나를 냐면 탐지 뒤 나는 누구요? 쌈나 좀 누구요? 뒤 냐면 저는 냐면 상말 요잖아. 되는 그래. 근데 제 마요는 되는 된다. 자는 되게 대양 예등을 하고 그 마고나 되는 직선다 망보전이 되는 왕시름 진도 센터 망도 단수선도 망도 센터 망도 너는 뒤는 상승이 어레 너래 그 매나 되는 지당 되게 저
Then also one other point which I'd like to share with you is now many people, or some people at least, have the opportunity to receive a number of teachings from different teachers and a number of empowerments. And yes, basically there is a commitment that comes along with each empowerment, a commitment to the practice. The whole idea of the empowerment is not only a connection with the practice in terms of blessings and so forth, but also a commitment to the practice. But there is different ways of understanding the application of commitment, and so some people have the feeling that with the receiving of each empowerment, of course, a commitment comes along with it, and now one has received many empowerment, therefore there are many commitments, and one has difficulty maintaining those commitments, and so as a result of that, one also feels some concern, some worry, not being able to maintain all of these commitments. And the more empowerment one receives, and the more warrior one becomes, and that doesn't somehow fit in well. And but yes, it is true that there are commitments, but also one way to understand the commitment is that it's important for one to do the practice of one particular deity, yidam practice, deity practice, whichever one, the deity practice comes to, one does the deity practice because one has a particular connection with a deity in terms of yearning and devotion, or because one's lama or teacher has recommended, given one's situations and whatever, and recommended that this be your personal practice, deity. And so with that, the understanding should be that in essence all the deities are the same, which is true from the point of view of the transcendent awareness, wisdom. All the deities are in essence same, that therefore by doing the practice of this deity, and all the commitments and all the deities are embodied in this deity. And not only knowing that, but also having that attitude, thought, that all the commitments, all the practices of all the deities are embodied in this one, and therefore doing the practice of that particular deity, then that is covers of all the commitments, and because of, in essence, all the deities are one. So in this way, but receiving all kinds of empowerment and not even doing the practice of one deity that is the source of maintaining of the commitment, and yes, so that would not be particularly healthy. So basically, as far as practice is concerned, daily practice is concerned, if one is able to do the practice of meditation, Mahamudra related, singing, and something, whatever practice of meditation, along with the daily practice of deity, of course the deity of one's choice, or that is who has been mutually seen as beneficial for one by oneself and the teacher, and doing those two practice, then that will be a very combination of a very complete and a very good practice. And all the understanding and the study of the Dharma